welcome back to Cards and Comics. And today I'm going to go over my top 10 Ken Griffey Jr. cards in my collection. And so this isn't the top 10 Ken Griffey Jr. cards of all time, but this is what I have in my collection that I consider the best. And it's not going to be based completely on value, even though that's part of the equation. But it will definitely be part, what I like and what I want to share with you guys in terms of my collection and what I think are the best. And I got a lot of cards I want to get from Griffey in the future, and so this top 10 list will change a lot. Hopefully the next coming years, but this is for for right now. This is what I consider my top 10. All right, so moving number 10. 1999 Metal Universe Linchpins. So this is definitely just a really cool insert. It's very tough to hit. It's numbered, or sorry, it's not numbered, but it's 1 in 360, and so 360 packs from a very tough product to open. In terms of condition. I just opened a box of 98. Metal Universe. I'll have a video for that up soon. And the condition of those cards is just terrible. There's no two bones about it. They're stuck together. So I'd imagine 99 is going to be very similar. If I get a box, I'll open it to share with you guys. But so I would imagine anything coming out of these boxes are going to be more damaged than they were in 1999 when this was first released. So I think condition is going to be a very big part of this, this card and its future. And it's going up being primarily driven by the basketball set. The basketball set's really gone up in value, and it's driving similar cards. I believe there's a football version of this as well. So, I think all cards from this design are just going up because people just recognize it as really cool, unique design. Not a lot of cards are like this. If you're not, familiar with the design, those little pins are actually die cuts, and that unique die cut makes it even more condition sensitive because some of those die cuts are actually on the edge of the card, and that just makes it, even more of a unique, product or unique card, and it even makes the condition even harder. So. Moving on to number 9, 89 Upper Deck Griffey. Like all other people, I wish I had bought a 10 last year. Um, you know, um, I never really considered it because this card is so printed so heavily. You can still buy 89 Upper Deck boxes. I know they've gone up quite a bit, but it's not a card that's rare, even in 10 grade. I thought I had a lot of time. It wasn't really a priority, and prices did spike. Right now, the BCP average for a PSA 9 is $189. And this price has spiked in April 2020. On a future video, I am going to show you guys, these price spikes compared to, what the cards were worth before that, and show you examples of where these cards have spiked in price very dramatically, and some of them have slowly come down. This is one of those cards that slowly they're declining in price now in both 9s and 10s, but in general they're worth more today than in general. It's double. Both the 9 and 10 are worth double what they were pre-April of 2020, but the prices are slowly coming down. But I want to just highlight these price swings and how they've happened even on some cards multiple times. And it's not abnormal for the hobby to experience these kind of price swings, but just realize that sometimes there is a settling out of pricing, and right now the price is kind of settling a little bit back on this card, but it's definitely higher than it was. I'm glad I bought this card when it was still like around a $89, $100 card versus the $190 that it is today. But again, I wish I'd have bought a 10. All right, number 8. 97 Metal Universe Motherlode. So, one of the things I wanted to show with you guys is, this is a card that I really, really like. It's something that, I I just love, the creativity, the design. I don't think it's ever been repeated from an aesthetic perspective. I don't think there's been other mother loads that look like this. Um, so, and the good thing about this card is that being so, hard to hit. We talked about, 1 in 288 packs out of a product that is probably, trash in the box today. For the most part, if you're going to pull a box of that and open it, you're not going to probably find good condition cards. It's got a very intricate die cut design. I mean, it's a crazy die cut on a foil card. I mean, that's just recipe for disaster. Um, and so that conditioning means that the last 10 brought $800, and that was a buy it now. So who knows what that card would bring on an open market. The cool thing is I've got the card. Here's my version, and I've got his brother. So I got two of them. I got an ungraded one and I got a graded one. The graded one's an 8. Again, with these kind of rare inserts, I'm not as particular about the grade. But, I do like, I do like the cards. And I do think having two of them, I guarantee it was by mistake. I probably bought it not knowing I had, the card already. But now I have two, and, maybe I'll trade one for another card, I like even better. But again, I think it's a great card, and it's going up in value. And it's just like the previous card. It's being driven by just the fact that the Metal Universe inserts are some of the strongest inserts in both basketball and now in baseball. Moving on to number 7, 89 tops traded, Tiffany Griffey. Here you go. Here's the card. Yeah, I just picked this up. It comes in a completed set only, and it's numbered to, or it's not numbered, but there was only 15,000 of these sets made. Now, this card is very different than the 89 Bowman Tiffany card, and and the key thing here is that just that it was 15,000 sets versus I believe 6,000 for the Bowman. So that's so right there, that's a huge difference in number. However, the card is very iconic. I think people like that 89, picture, that set, and it's gaining more popular every day. And so I think this card, being limited in number, and in fact it's glossy. It has a much nicer presentation. It's going to always be very popular. The last 9 brought 460. VCP average is 42. This is what I'm talking about in terms of value. And this card spiked as well. Again, you're seeing this sort of settling of where the last cards sold are cheaper than the average price, on VCP, and that just shows you that the price is softening somewhat. Could it spike again? Sure. I think with baseball starting again, maybe you might see some more price spikes, but right now it's getting on the softer side. And it's been going up for a good bit of time during this crisis, and I think now you're seeing some more normalizing of prices. So, but again, one of my favorite cards, and it's always going to be one of these kind of iconic Griffey cards. So very glad to have it. Number 6. So this is the 1998 Leaf Fractal Matrix Gold Z Axis die cut. Yeah, that's a big, a lot of words there. And this is an example of a card set being so convoluted and hard to understand, even when it was released, that it really hurt the value, even to this day. And I've tried to simplify it for people and what this set is, and really it's just there's variations of cards. Let's just say they're gold, silver, or bronze, and depending on the set part of the set designation they were in, they could have been numbered or could have been part of different let's say print runs, but they're not serial numbered, unlike other fractal matrix cards from different sets. So that makes it hard to really tell people how rare they are. But this Griffey is, the gold set that the Griffey's part of. There's only 400 total, and there's only die cuts. And so only 100 of the 400 are die cut. So this card is out of 100. So if you think about it, a 1998 Griffey Gold card that has basically a, almost a super fractor finish that's die cut, only 100 exist. What is the price of this card? And here is my copy. You can see it. Sorry. So yes, there it is. I purchased this at the National Raw, just as you see here today, for $80. And I have it so high on the list because I really think it's super undervalued. It's a beautiful card when you look at it. It's one of the coolest Griffey cards ever made, in my opinion. It's obviously limited. So we'll see. It's not a. I think this is not a card you'd say it's a value card, in terms of just what it's selling for. I think a PSA 10, it's going to be one of these really tough cards to get due to that die cutting, that foiling, and the fact it's so limited. I think it's got a lot of potential. It's a good card. You can find them on eBay sometimes. I'd snag them, if you can. I think it's got a good future ahead of itself. And again, if the set wasn't so hard to understand, I think it would have already price spiked long ago. All right, number 5, 1997 EX2000, a cut above. And so here you go. Here's the card. I showed it in my opening intro video to the channel. Yeah, this is just a awesome die cut card. I mean, it was a tough insert ratio, 288 packs. The basketball set is on fire. It's die cut. It's very condition sensitive. Last sales for a PSA 9 were $998 and a BGS 9 was $510. Again, showing you this great divide between PSA and BGS on certain cards. I mean, it's almost double. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but this is what it is. And, my card is definitely a nice condition card. I might get it graded. I might not, I think it's just depends. I'm with grading taking so long nowadays, I'm just not in a big hurry. These cards are spiking as is, so I may grade, I may not, but I'm just glad I have it because I think this is a card that's going to continue to rise. And I'd rather have it now versus pay a little bit more later. All right, number 4. So this is a really special card, and I purchased this a couple years ago, a 1998 Upper Deck Retro Sign of the Times autograph. So this is, I think, probably the best autograph of Ken Griffey Jr. in the 90s. And this is just, I know I own the card, so I'm going to have that kind of opinion, but it is a very, very cool autograph. It is very difficult to find. It doesn't come up for auction very often. And, there's a big reason for that. One thing, it was inserted in these lunch boxes, if you remember this set. Just a really cool way of distributing a set. It was, the autographs are 1 in 36. So, we have already had inserts here that were 1 in 360 or 1 in 288. So, why is this so rare? Well, every autograph in this set had its own print run. And Griffey had the shortest print run of all with 100 total autographs. So, take that idea of 100 autographs and the fact that, not all of them are probably accounted for. And you get, and here it is. Here's my copy, just to prove. There it is. And, I just think it's a very special card. I'm glad I have it. I think it's clearly, one of the top, 5 or 6, at least autographs of the 90s of Griffey. To me, it's one you just don't see very often. It's super limited compared to some other autos that he's got out in other sets, SB signature sets or whatever, chirography sets. So I think, it's got a lot of potential. And again, it's a really nice looking card. And that whole set is just cool. The Tony Gwynn, the Kirby Puckett, the Nolan Ryan. I mean, that's a cool set. Just to have that set, I would love to eventually get the entire set of that. So again, I could have been higher. I am really high on the card. I know it's hard to see that, but I think the last BVG 8 sold for $825. So, yeah. So moving on. Number 3, 89 Bowman Tiffany. So I mentioned earlier the 89 tops traded Tiffany, 15,000 sets. Well, there's only 6,000 Bowman sets, and they came in this cool white box, and that was serial numbered on the bottom. So, you know, less than half of what's out there in tops. Here's my copy for everyone. Let's look at it. Here you go. Yeah, it just speaks for itself. It's a beautiful card. You know, being so much more limited than the Tiffany tops traded, it's so much more limited than the upper deck. I mean, it is factors of, I mean, thousands, you know? I mean, there's millions maybe of those 89 upper deck Griffies. There's 6,000 of these. I can't imagine in the future that this card doesn't just start to run laps around the entire Griffey rookie card, collection. And if you think about it, I mean, it's the only limited Griffey rookie card that really exists. In severe limitations, 6,000 copies. Yeah, I'd say like if you can find one, right now is the time to get them. Even if they are spiking a little bit, it's just, I think it's undervalued. It's going to go up. Okay, moving on to number 2. In 1998 Metal Universe Hardball insert, or not insert, but Hardball, Ken Griffey Jr. Galaxy PMG. So, yeah, here you go. Like I said, I'm opening up a box of this 98 Metal Universe, trying to find more PMGs, yeah, I'll be posting that video soon. Yeah, and it did not go well in terms of condition. I did pull some cool cards, but again, condition is hard. Now, this card is, and I don't know if you can see the numbering on the back, but there it is. I believe it's 37 of 50. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, this card is just special. It's the PMG. Not a lot of PMG Griffies exist. People really like this hardball card. I didn't realize that so much of the time. When I was looking to buy a PMG, I really wanted the base card, and obviously none were for sale at the time. Obviously timing is part of it, but this card came up around the same time, and I bought it thinking like, more like it's a checklist, or it's not a real Griffey card. It's more like just a fun card. But then I really looked at sales, and that hardball Griffey by itself in the Metal Universe set sells really well. And a lot of time it sells more than the base Griffey, and I think people just like that picture. They like the fun nature of the card. So I'm actually more glad I picked up this card than even when I first started. You know, the cool thing about this card that I didn't know until I started really looking into it was, only 45 of these were inserted into packs. The 5 of each of the cards were held back, and they put together what they call like a super PMG, or card as an insert, and so 5 people could have got that redemption and got the full set of PMGs. Now that's just crazy. I mean, if you think about pulling that card, I mean, obviously today you can't redeem it, but could you imagine getting a full set of PMGs, all the cards? That would just, I mean, I can't imagine. I'd love to hear if somebody actually ever did that and actually kept it until now, because that would be one of the greatest hobby stories ever, of having a full PMG set from '98 that they redeemed back in that time period. But you know, value-wise, it is what it is. I think these cards have gotten to the point where, when they come up for sale, if a collector really wants that card, they're going to pay what it takes to get it. They don't come up for sale very often, and when they do, it's going to be tough. So I probably won't get rid of it unless I get rid of my entire Griffey collection. So Okay, moving on to throw up some honorable mentions before we get to number one. Number one, is going to probably not surprise anyone, but here were some honorable mentions that got consideration for this list. 94 Flare Hawk Gloves, even though it's not an expensive card, it's kind of the besides the 93 Finest Refractor. It was really the first big insert for Griffey, around that time period in '94. There was some of the elites that had come out, but this card really drove a lot of interest into inserts, and in terms of just how cool they could be. That color of the card, the die cut, it just was cool card, and it's growing in value. It's not really rare, so it's never going to achieve some of the success of other inserts. But I think it's going to be considered one of those must-have type Griffey inserts that every big Griffey collectors will have to have. And I think a lot of people just wanting Griffey cards want it as well because it is an affordable, cool-looking card. Next up, the 96 Ultra Hitting Machines. I have this card. I had the gold medallion version at some point. I must have sold it. I looked through my collection. It's not there. But, this is a 1 in 288, I believe, insert, or a 1 in 144. I think it's 288. But either way, it's a hard card to get. It's got a cool die cut. It just, there's nothing that's really looked like it since. And I think there's just a huge following for this card. And I think it's going to be one of those Griffey inserts that people are going to always want to have. And it's going to keep going up and be as desirable. Like the Lynchpin and other cards, it's just going to keep collector's interest with that cool intricate die cut. Here's one that probably not on a lot of lists for a lot of collectors, but this Donner's Preferred Executive Suite preferred seating die cut card is tough, and yeah, there might be a few on eBay here and there, but it's the hardest to get version from the set, so it's like a rare card, and it's the rarest to get die cut. And that product is pretty much dried up because people are trying to get the the gold, the actual metal cards, and with the gold and silver and platinum in them, trying to get those cards, and so these cards get overlooked. But I would be shocked if there is more than a couple hundred of these cards ever made. Um, they do come out in pretty good condition, so I'm not going to say that they're condition rare, but die cuts always have a little more condition issue than other cards. And I would just say that it's got a lot of potential because it's so cheap right now comparatively than probably other cards on this list that you can buy in a little early on this card, and I think this could be a Griffey card that really takes off in value. And again, these are cards I own, so obviously there could be cards that I want to own, and maybe I'll make a list of the top 10 Griffey cards I want to go to purchase. But right now, these are the ones I own, and I think this card is just a really nice and cool Griffey with some potential to keep growing. 89 Bowman, I have the PSA 10, so I got this a while back, and it's gone up in value. Couple $100, I believe, 280, 290, for a 10 now. So it's gone up quite a bit since I bought it. But again, I just love that card. I mean, it's just such a classic looking card. And then you got the Tiffany card, which is one of my favorite cards as well. Just really cool. And last, I don't have the Finest Gold Refractor, the embossed. I do have the embossed. So this is one step away from the refractor. That's obviously would be on my list of cards to go get, would be the embossed refractor for Griffey. But I have the one below it. It's a cool card. They're die cut. I don't know if you've ever had these cards. The edges look like kind of a stamp, with tiny die cuts, and it's embossed. So, these are rare cards. There's a few of them on eBay at a time. They're slowly growing in value, and you're seeing that people recognize that these cards are tough to pull. You open a box of this, you're not going to pull Griffey die cuts, very, very easily. These are still rare cards to pull. And I think, people are going to realize that, even though they're not the refractor, that this version is still really rare. So these are honorable mention cards. They could have been on the list. It just depends on, my feeling of the week, but I still feel like they needed to be mentioned as cards I really like and I think have tons of potential to keep being valuable and in some cases historic for the Griffey cards in terms of, collector value. Moving on to number one, it's the 93 Refractor Finest. Probably no surprise to anyone that this is probably the top list, parallel, insert, however you want to call it, for Griffey. This is always going to be, one of the top cards. There's cards that are worth more nowadays and they're numbered from the 90s. There's other PMGs. There are even the gold embossed refractor. You've got all the mirror gold cards, all that stuff. Some of those are worth more now, for the most part. Maybe not in a PSA 10. There's some pricing is hard to say because condition matters, but just in general, this is the one that everyone really wants to have, though. I mean, I understand those other cards are valuable, but this was the initial card that got people just into parallels. The 93 Finest Refractor. It was the card that people had to have in the early 90s. People have to have throughout the 90s, 2000s, even to this day. This is the Griffey card that I think people associate with, a parallel that they have to be considered, a core, hardcore Griffey collector. These were inserted 1 in 15, so I think there's 24 packs in a box. So you get 1 or 2 of these in a box. And the rumors are that I've never opened this product to the extent of multiple boxes. I've heard that you can tell what pack has the refractor in it. So I don't think buying open packs of this or open boxes is a good idea. But, you would get 1 to 2 a box. Right now, the VCP on this card is $1,900. So compared to the other cards on this list, I think it's definitely the most expensive card. Print run was stated as 241, but that's an estimate. I mean, it's been printed everywhere that's 241. It's just an estimate based on the amount of cases that Topps stated that they made. Topps has never stated the actual print run, and I have heard, multiple times from multiple dealers that some collectors have got close to the 200 cards, and that if they look at, population reports and rumors that there's more than 240, I don't know. I don't think that's really verified either as true or false. You could say there's between 250 and 300. Maybe that's more accurate. I don't think there's 1,000 of these out there, 2,000. I think it's close to that 250 number if it's a little bit more than 241. I think we'll never know exactly how many was printed, but it'll never, not be, one of the top end Griffey cards that people want. When I got it, it really was a big day for me. It was, the culmination of a lot of years of collecting and wanting something as a kid I could never get. So it'll never be something that, again, that I would sell just because I needed money. It would be one of the last cards again, because it's so important to me from a collector, because this is really when I really became a big time collector in terms of just going to card shows, going to card stores. This was a big product at the time when I was a kid. It was such an expensive product. It just crazy quality in terms of just how cool the cards were. So for me, it's a lot of meaning in that way, something that me and my dad would have totally loved to have back in the day. And I think, for me, it reminds me of those times, and it's of my favorite player, when I grew up as a kid. So it's never going to stop being one of those cards that has a lot of value just from a sentimentality. So, so there you go. That's my list. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed it. This could change and update as I collect throughout the years. And then maybe I'll put out a list of my top 10 wants, but I think for now, this is my list, and hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.